Hello, we are Group 4, and this is our presentation on our analysis of Case 4, Apple's Core. The analysis focuses on the potential issues that arise with the founding of teams, especially when done with friends, which can lead to the potential misalignment of their values and goals, despite having a good amount of complementary fit. This misalignment can result in costly and potentially catastrophic outcomes, just as it did within the case. 5 years prior to Apple forming, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were introduced by a mutual friend. Despite differences in personalities and goals, they shared a common interest and became close friends. Jobs immediately saw Wozniak had great engineering and technology skills and wanted to use his abilities to go into business. Jobs had introduced Wozniak to his coworker from Atari, Ron Wayne. Wayne had legal and business experience that Jobs and Wozniak had lacked. So in 1976, Jobs, Wozniak, and Wayne decided to start Apple Computers. However, 12 days after forming Apple, Wayne sold his shares back and left the company due to conflicts he was having with Jobs. In 1977, Jobs reached out to former Intel executive Mike Markkula for additional funding for Apple. Markkula invested $91,000 in the company and also guaranteed a line of bank credit for another $250,000. In return, Markkula received an equity stake in the company equal to both Jobs and Wozniak. In examining the collaboration of the original founders, Jobs, Wozniak, and Wayne, we see an apparent disparity in values and goals. While partnering with friends has its advantages, like that of already established trust and familiarity, there exist risks as well. When friends work together, much is left to implication and assumption instead of direct designation. Had Jobs, Wozniak, and Wayne discussed and outlined their respective roles, goals, and values in an attempt to identify and work through major differences, the likelihood of their success would have been greatly heightened. A discussion of work distribution could also have proved beneficial, as founders are tasked with idea generation and execution or implementation. There is ambiguity as to which component has greater value, the thinking or the doing. It would have served all founders to discuss perception of individual contribution to avoid negative feelings about venture participation. When looking at the case details pertaining to the working relationship of Wozniak and Jobs, we can readily identify that the characteristics of their behavior vary between those of a work group and those of a work team. While they exhibited collective performance working on different aspects of the same projects for the company, we know their ultimate goals were largely unaligned. While there existed positive synergy from their combined efforts, their differing perspectives and approaches at times generated negative synergy. In terms of accountability, we know the small size of their team left them individually accountable for the aspects of the company they respectively managed. Yet, when looking at their individually possessed skills, we know their pairing was highly complementary and led to their success. Working in teams provided Apple with an abundance of benefits, such as access to more human capital and perspectives. Human capital is the various skills, knowledge, and unique expertise that Apple's founders contributed. This led to complementary fit because Apple's team members provided skills and abilities and knowledge that the other team members needed and did not possess. However, there was an unfortunate lack in supplementary fit, as for the most part, no two team members shared similar expertise, which allowed for team members to be taken advantage of due to lack of knowledge. Working in a team was a wise decision for Apple because new business ventures initiated by a team rather than a sole proprietor tend to be more successful. This is greatly due to their ability to utilize each other's various expertise and personal networks, thus creating more strategic assets. However, in the case of Apple, they had no choice but to work in a team, as each partner held necessary complementary skills. The first question is, does Apple have a good founding team? After thorough analysis of the skills, goals, and values of each founder, the answer becomes quite clear. Wozniak, Jobs, and Wayne were a strong founding team in the sense that they had the necessary complementary skills. However, it was weakened by their misaligned goals and values, which led to many altercations and Wayne quitting 2 weeks after Apple's founding. Apple's founding team truly had a strong set of complementary personal skills. Wozniak had incredible engineering skills that allowed the company to exist through product viability but lacked entrepreneurial skills. Jobs, on the other hand, had many skills of an entrepreneurial leader: the vision, strategy, salesmanship, resourcefulness, motivation, and persuasion to initiate a business venture. Wayne had a vast legal and business skills that both Jobs and Wozniak severely lacked, allowing them to start Apple. The issues that hurt the strength of the original founding team arose from their drastically differing goals and values. Wozniak's values rested in engineering, bettering society, and ethicality. Jobs' values revolved around control, power, money, and recognition at any expense. Wayne valued legality and his health. Wozniak's end goal was to make a meaningful impact on society with his engineering. For Jobs, the end goal was to have his own company and be remembered as someone who influenced society. Wayne's goal was to be successful in a legal and more conventional manner. In result, the founding team had great complementary fit, but was weakened by misaligned values and goals. A true founder is not just an individual who was present at the time of the formal initiation of the company, but also an individual who joined a venture early enough that he or she was able to be a key fundamental aspect in the company's ability to grow and succeed. Jobs and Wozniak had irreplaceable complementary fit, and without one, the company would not have existed or become as successful as it had. That is why they both should be considered true founders. Wozniak did not have entrepreneurial vision, but he had irreplaceable engineering vision and skills, which allowed him in 1975 to create the first keyboard-controlled computer. Jobs had irreplaceable entrepreneurial vision. As one employee stated, "Steve has a power of vision that is almost frightening." This allowed Jobs to see the business potential of Wozniak's work. Markkula was the missing piece, and although he was not physically present during the true founding of Apple, he was very present during the early stages, and was arguably an equally profound founder. He was able to mitigate the vast differences between their individual values and goals through his extensive management and business knowledge. He also gave Apple direction with his consumer-oriented and marketing-driven management. Wozniak and Jobs can be credited to bringing the company into existence, equally as true founders, but Markkula can be credited as a founder as well, due to joining in so early and helping and allowing Apple to become what it is today through his business and management skills. After Jobs took a job with Atari, becoming their 40th employee, Al Alcorn, Atari's chief engineer, asked him to develop a computer game called Breakout. Jobs was told that his pay was based on how few chips the game required, and the game needed to be finished in 4 days. Jobs decided to offer half of the pay to Wozniak if he helped him develop the game. In the end, the game was completed in just 4 days, and Wozniak was paid half of the $700 that Jobs said he was compensated. However, years later, Wozniak noticed Al Alcorn on a plane and approached him to initiate a conversation. The actual amount of years later is not known for sure. Wozniak figured it was safe at this point to tell him that he was the one who in fact designed the game that used so few chips. Within the conversation, Alcorn mentioned how much he paid Jobs for the game, of which was a lot more than Jobs told Wozniak. Wozniak stated, "He wasn't honest with me, and I was hurt. But He was my best friend, and I feel extremely linked to him. Some sources even say that Wozniak cried. If one were to imagine themselves in Steve Wozniak's shoes after finding out the truth about Breakout, they would have a difficult decision to make. Wozniak learned the financial truth that Jobs failed to disclose related to the Breakout project. Said trust was severely compromised. However, this was not the first altercation between the two due to their differences in values, goals, and lack of supplementary fit. Due to the company's success and how much Wozniak already invested in the company, the best approach to overcoming this hurdle would be to confront Jobs directly about the matter, but to do so with a demeanor and expression of forgiveness and a desire to move forward. The matter should be addressed in order to prevent any harboring feelings of resentment, but the conversation should focus on reconciliation and an intention to foster the ability to collaborate on future projects. If a resolution cannot be reached, Wozniak should consider the option of 1. Continuing with the company but distancing himself from Jobs in his personal life as to mitigate conflicting emotions, or 2. Leaving the company to work with those who operate with values more aligned with his own, as his success has opened many doors. This could have been avoided if Jobs and Wozniak had discussed their values and goals prior to going into business together, but instead they assumed it would work due to their prior friendship, leading to this very situation. This is why going into business with friends can be so dangerous, as assumptions are made in place of having the necessary explicit verbal discussion about each potential partner's individual goals and values. The case demonstrates how just because complementary fit exists, there's more to building a strong, cohesive, and long-term sustainable team, such as supplementary fit. Team members really need to take the time to discuss individual goals and values. In the case of Apple, if Wozniak took the time to sit down with Jobs and discuss goals and values, he may have realized that his best friend was not necessarily a cohesive partner based on values and goals. It became very clear that Wayne was in fact in no shape or form a good fit in values or goals as he left 2 weeks after the establishment of the company. This is an inherent danger of doing business with friends, as the assumptions made can lead to catastrophic ends and negative synergy. It was even explicitly stated that without the management skills of Markula, every employee would have quit due to the misalignment of values and goals. The issue in the case of Breakout is far more complicated by the fact that Apple had become so vastly successful and each partner had put so much time into the company. If Wozniak had more business sense and supplementary business skills with Jobs, he may have been able to avoid being taken advantage of, as this can work as a system of checks and balances. So in the end, while it may be enticing to start business with friends, prospective team members must still align their goals and values and ensure that there is supplementary fit as well as complementary fit. Companies will not always have members such as Markula that can keep these differences at bay, and even if they are at bay, they can result in behind the back scheming, such as with the breakout game, so minimizing the differences is in fact the best solution. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.